In 1977, visionary George Lucas created a cultural phenomenon that has turned into a multi-billion-dollar empire, spawning sequels, prequels, cartoons, toys, and everything in between. Star Wars was not only one of the most recognizable brands in cinema, it was one of the most recognizable brands, period. But now a clutch of radical feminists and liberals have a stranglehold on the franchise, and what they've done to the movies is turn them into every conservative's worst nightmare. Liberalism is a disease that infects everything it touches by turning every aspect of American life into a battleground in the never-ending culture wars. George Lucas sold the rights to Star Wars to Disney for $4 billion, and mega-producer Kathleen Kennedy was tapped to shepherd the franchise. Unfortunately, Kennedy turned Star Wars into a laboratory experiment in promoting a far-left feminist agenda. The great deceit of leftists is that they mean the opposite of everything they say. They claim to want diversity, inclusivity, and tolerance. What they actually want is ideological uniformity, exclusivity of those with wrong think, and intolerance toward the intolerant, which they define as anyone who disagrees with their politics. When Episode 7, The Force Awakens, was announced, Star Wars fans were ecstatic. Little did they know their childhood would soon be unraveled thread by thread. The first red flag that Star Wars was in trouble came in the form of Rey, a female character with seemingly no flaws whatsoever. This type of character is pejoratively known as a Mary Sue. Rey was a skilled fighter who rescued the bumbling male character Finn. She knew more about the Millennium Falcon than both Han Solo and Chewbacca, and most offensively, she was a masterful user of the Force who defeated a far more skilled Force user despite having zero training. Men have always responded to strong female characters who are well written, such as Ellen Ripley in the Alien franchise and Sarah Connor in the Terminator films. Rey is a terribly written character because she has no flaws and conquers the main villain of the new trilogy in the first film. Imagine how much worse the original trilogy would have been if Luke Skywalker pummeled Darth Vader in A New Hope. But the Force is female, so Rey must be perfect, and according to Kennedy, a character like Rey was the only way to connect with women.
I think there was an assumption being made for quite a while that girls didn't care about Star Wars, or that girls weren't identifying with characters like Luke Skywalker.
This is breathtakingly stupid. The Star Wars audience may skew male, but it doesn't become a 40-year global force of nature without plenty of female fans. It's also insulting to suggest women can only connect with a film if it has a flawless female character. Despite the issues with The Force Awakens, the film was a smashing success at the box office, but hardcore fans went into Episode 8 The Last Jedi with less patience. Fans' worst nightmares were realized in director Rian Johnson's horrific vision for the franchise. The progressive politics were ramped up to 11. The male characters were even more hapless. Rey's Force abilities even overwhelmed Luke Skywalker at one point, and audience were subjected to storylines about income inequality, PETA-inspired messaging, and war profiteering. Also, the character Vice Admiral Holdo, known amongst disappointed Star Wars fans as Vice Admiral Gender Studies because of her purple hair and female chauvinism, was jammed into the plot as a paragon of wisdom and bravery. Holdo sacrificed herself to save the fleet. When a male character tried to make the same heroic choice, a female character sacrificed herself to save him and stop him from making the brave sacrifice. Even worse, Luke Skywalker and Yoda were turned into clown shows that disavowed all of the allure and mysticism of the Force that enchanted fans for decades. The fan backlash was severe. It underperformed at the box office and got a terrible score from audiences. Disney tried to spin the bad word of mouth as simply right-wing internet trolls who gamed the algorithm. However, the ratings website Rotten Tomatoes quickly debunked that theory with proof that the poor score was legitimate. Did Rian Johnson use the criticism as a teachable moment? Of course not. He's a leftist.
Looking back, was there any of the criticisms that you read that you may feel is now kind of fair?
No. But
I'm happy to ruin people's childhoods.
The thing is, though, especially with the Star Wars.
The most recent Star Wars fiasco involved the release of the spin-off prequel Solo. Fans' goodwill had been so eroded the film tanked horribly and is projected to lose over $50 million for Disney. Beyond the loss of consumer confidence, the film dug itself a deeper hole when it was revealed that the roguish Lando Calrissian was a pansexual. Once this leaked, the fans' want-to-see meter on Rotten Tomatoes precipitously dropped 30 points, which has reflected in the poorest box office. Did screenwriter John Kasdan learn his lesson? Of course not. He's a leftist. Kennedy, Johnson, and Kasdan take no responsibility in their failed stewardship of the Star Wars franchise. Instead, they would rather bury their heads in the sand and believe fluff pieces that blame the decline of the franchise on Star Wars fatigue, a notion discredited by the continued success of the Marvel films, the decreased bankability of white male leads, or toxic online trolls. The Force is not female. The Force is not political at all. The Force is supposed to be about good storytelling. Turning Star Wars into a vehicle for social justice warriors to promote their woke brand of left-wing politics is a surefire box office loser. But liberals like Kathleen Kennedy are committed to the cause above all else, so do not expect a course correction.
A lot of people online are very enthusiastic about Poe, and this was my last question, about possibly Poe being LGBT and what it means for the first Star Wars character on film to be this way. Can you sort of comment on that? Like, can you confirm or deny, or what does it mean to you?
Very open to those possible storylines, and I don't think it needs to be nailed down in any kind of traditional way.
The franchise is approaching a frightening point of no return at light speed. If you would like more real news that you can trust, please hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel.